Okay, awesome. So this is our Giveth communication circle, and today we're going to be digging into road mapping and quarterly milestone planning for Q3. But first, I would love to just get us started with a little grounding practice. Today, I would love to lead us through a body scan. So let's begin by just taking a moment to allow your body to settle into a comfortable position, whether that's sitting or standing softly or even laying down. And you can close your eyes or keep them slightly open, allowing your spine to lift. So we're going to go into a body scan meditation. And to begin, I invite you to take a deep breath in through the nose and a long, deep exhale out through the mouth. Slowly, slowly letting all the air out. And I invite you to bring your attention and your intention to your body. So notice the feeling of the weight of your body on the chair or on the floor, wherever you are. What does that feel like? And as you breathe, notice how your chest and your abdomen expand to allow the air to enter your lungs. What sensations are you aware of? As you exhale, bring awareness to the stillness and notice the sense of relaxing more deeply. We'll just stay here for a moment with our breath and our awareness. Now bring your attention to the top of your head, noticing any sensations in the scalp, down to the back of the head, to the sides, to the face. Notice your jaw. If you're holding any tension in your jaw, I invite you to release it now. Let your face be soft. Relax the muscles around your eyes and your mouth. Breathing in, breathing out. Now notice your neck and your throat. Let them be soft. Notice your shoulders and your arms. Feel any sensations as you allow your tension to move from your shoulders down to your upper arms, the elbow, to your forearms, your wrists, hands, and fingers. Moving your awareness down your chest and your abdomen, your hips. What does it feel like in your seat? The tops of your thighs, what it's like for them to be bent or stretched out. Sensing your calves, your ankles, tops of your feet, all the way down to your toes and the padding on the bottom of your feet. You can just take a few more breaths here. And when you're ready, you can bring your awareness back to the space that you're in. Maybe you want to flutter your eyes softly, gently, slowly open. Looking around your space, giving your body some movement. If you want to shake it out, maybe you want to shake your hands, wiggle your arms and your legs. Okay. Inviting you back into the virtual space, the three of us here. And I will bring us to check-ins. I'm going to share a link to the agenda I've created in the chat in case you'd like to follow along. And we can just check in with how you're feeling in this moment and what your intention is for today. For me, I am feeling aware and focused. And my intention for today is to share what I've learned about where the other projects and teams are at in this space and begin the discussions of guiding us through goal setting so that we can be more organized and kind of looking to the future. And I will pass it to Mitch.
Hey there, I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm ready to see what kind of roadmap goals we can set for each other, at least in the next 3 months, and see what other people think. I'd be curious to see what we can actually get to with just the three of us here, but let's see how it goes. I'll give it to Lauren.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys, to guide this discussion. Just tracking some notes. Okay, awesome. So I just want to provide some context first and share a little bit around road mapping and what I have learned since our last call. We decided that in order for us to ultimately create our own roadmap and quarterly milestones and deciding things strategically like release dates for these different products and announcements, that, well, we've got to understand from those teams, like, what are their goals and how's their planning going and when are things going to be ready. So I connected again with Monique, since he's kind of managing the, or I should say coordinating rather, the Giveth Trace team, and he's just starting to do that with Giveth.io. And so I've tracked some of the info that I found here, and I'll just run through this with you. His overall concern, like on Giveth in general, which applies to all the teams, is that it's usually really important for us to have real user feedback. And since things have been in beta for years and, we haven't had like tons of projects or tons of donors, we don't necessarily have, from Monique's perspective, enough real data collected on the platform and on the problem we're solving and how people feel about our product. So he does feel like it's important to push some of these products live so that we can receive those things and adapt and see what's working for people and what's not. He's just looking for like real feedback from real users. So for Giveth Trace, I've included a screenshot here. He said, they do have like their milestones and things in place. I think they're just on develop right now, and their goals are for the end of Q2, which would be the end of this month in June. They plan to have some user experience improvements on the platform, and then in Q3, which is what we're planning for today, which is like July, August, September, they're planning to add givebacks and some intra-product integration. So individually, you can see in this table here each of the Trace team members that contributed their feedback and kind of their feedback. So Griff and like some of the things from the team as far as for Q2 and their goals of going live and being stable. You know, Griff is looking to solve the gas issues and for the platform to become more stable. I mean, also wants to go live and not be in beta anymore and be able to run without any issues for 2 months. Marco's reflecting that as well. Stable build, get out of beta. Everyone's wanting to get out of beta, launch with gas cost issues, and then convert to production and make it really stable. So everyone was pretty aligned there. And we'll go through a similar process of like collecting all of our individual ideas and kind of brainstorming opinions and then seeing where we're all in alignment. For Q3, just looking through some of this feedback, they want to gather detailed feedback from like 20 plus users since it's gone live, is what they're mapping out. And then they want to prioritize the list of features that are most important based on that feedback. Amin says he wants to get the application more user-friendly and have better UX design on the front end, more reliable and scalable back end. Yeah, a couple of comments around UI and UX. And then another big goal is that they're looking to cover their own expenses, multi-chain support, and have improvements to the bridge. Which is maybe not so much related to comms, but it's good for us to understand what these Q2 and Q3 goals are. So then for Giveth.io, since they're kind of just, Monique is just starting to take the reins, we really have this pre-existing Giveth.io roadmap that's in Notion, which is linked here at the top of the Giveth.io section in the notes. He said they're a little bit foggy at the moment of what they plan to deliver in Q2 and Q3 for Giveth.io. In the roadmap, he said the team more so just wrote like what they love to do and what they love to focus on. And there's, as I think Willie outlined for us on one of the dev calls recently, there's like these in progress features, so identity verification, give token, and then the things they plan to work on next: givebacks, fiat on-ramping, fiat donations, donating to causes, donation matching, and then special feature requests list. So we don't have like a comprehensive, super detailed, like all of the circles are now putting more attention on road mapping and planning out their goals, and we're all kind of working on this sort of thing at the same time. It's hard for us to have like an extremely clear vision of Giveth.io and Giveth Trace and Give Token, though we're doing our best. But this is the information that I have for now, and I just wanted to provide that context before we dive into the questions we'll run through today in creating our own goals and milestones. But I just want to open it up because that was kind of a mouthful. How do you guys think and feel about what I shared? Are there other things that you're aware of that you'd like to add around Giveth Trace or Giveth.io, being that you guys are more involved with the dev team?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's pretty fine what you outlined. Like, I think, yeah, for Giveth Trace, it's like we want to be a little bit more stable. Getting user feedback is important, but then it's like we're pretty much ready to go. And so they're like wanting to have some comps around like launching, and then like you said for Giveth.io, it's like give backs, well, project verification, give backs, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, like fiat onboarding, but I feel like that's also still coming later. But yeah, I'm totally aligned with roughly this idea of what the roadmaps are for this. But yeah, so I think it would be really good to like look at comms around this, like keeping all these things in mind, like the bigger picture stuff. Mitch, do you have anything you want to say?
Hopefully it's not too windy, the feedback. Yeah, I feel like Trace is pretty clear on where it's going to be definitely in the next 3 months. Giveth.io needs a lot of work, just like organization, like, okay, what needs to come first? Verification, getting stable in Next.js has just turned into like this whole month-long affair. So it's like getting stable and then start adding features from there. Where are we at with redesigning the project creation flow and like all these other things? There's a lot of ideas out in there, and we need to get a solid developer team and figure out what's feasible in the short term and then what's feasible in the next 2 to 3 months. I think it will depend a lot on hiring. And then the give tokens, I haven't been super involved in a lot of those conversations, so it's hard for me to get an idea of what the timelines would like for that. Yeah, I'll give it back to Forrest.
Awesome. That's helpful feedback from you guys. Thank you. And I've captured that in the notes also. Okay, so keeping those general things in our mind, and understanding kind of like Giveth Trace, they're wanting to go stable, they're wanting to go live, and implement some UX improvements and integrate givebacks. And then keeping in mind that Giveth.io is maybe, I would say, more flexible because they're more flowy and less structured at the moment. Yeah, we can keep that in mind. So just kind of scrolling down to the quarterly milestone planning. Before we dig in, I want to give context again of like the process that I recommend we go through, and then we can talk about this. And also I'm open to adapting this process and making it look different if you guys have feedback too. But the goal really is for us to understand like what do we want to reach? What do we want to accomplish? What do we want to put in our hat like at the end of Q3? And Q3 being July, August, and September of this year. So the process that I imagine we'll go through to reach that answer is first to brainstorm all of our different opinions, like tossing different ideas of big picture goals out there. And then once we've had like a little brainstorm around that, then we'll consider all of those opinions, like kind of review them together, and also think about the hidden voices that aren't just the three of us. And yeah, what do we believe those voices have to say? So that can be like the voice of other Giveth contributors, other stakeholders like partners, can be the voice of the customer, like donors and givers. So yeah, just kind of considering like having a discussion and considering the bigger picture and reviewing the goals that we threw out there. And then we can talk about which ones we feel most aligned and feel attainable and are like, yeah, something that is big enough that we can really like look forward to and work towards, but it's also not unachievable. And then we'll just talk about like, are there any blockers or problems that we see that might pose a problem for us reaching our goal? We don't want to create goals that are not something we're actually going to be able to accomplish. And then we will consent to our shared goals, which might be like one big goal for the end of those 3 months, like how the dev team seems to have like 1 or 2 big goals on Giveth Trace, or it might be a couple of smaller goals. And then we'll probably not get to this today, this will probably be like part 2, but deciding, kind of breaking out, like what are the smaller milestones that we need to set in order to reach this bigger goal or each of these bigger goals. And we can talk about also, like, do we want to run sprints or keep things more casual as we've been doing them? So what do you guys think about that process? And maybe, Mitch, are you seeing this also? Maybe I should share my screen just so it's easier for everyone to...
No, you're good. I'm looking in the Notion. It's fine.
Okay.
Me too.
Cool.
And I'm streaming like my view of the Notion notes, so it's cool.
Okay, awesome.
I think this process is totally fine. Like, let's just go through it and start like with brainstorming.
Awesome. Okay, so, and I'll track all of our like brainstorms, and probably after this meeting, like I'll make it more organized in a spreadsheet or something similar to the screenshot I shared from Monique. But yeah, so getting started, just throwing ideas out. What are big picture goals that we would love to achieve in the next couple of months?
Well, I think
Give token launch.
I didn't hear what you said, Lauren.
yeah, give token launch is definitely one, and then like launching Giveth Trace is another one.
Yep. Give backs program.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other things that we would want to do as a communications team? Maybe announcing our mission, vision, values.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then I guess like finishing the docs migration.
Yep.
That sounds like a lot of work. I'm like, that's enough. That's enough for Q3.
Oh yeah, and these don't have to all. These might not all be what makes it. We're just kind of brainstorming.
I know. But so should we just like brainstorm like all the things we want to see, like eventually in comms? Like just keep going, not like keeping in mind the time?
I think so, because we can always roll them over to the next quarter.
Okay. Well, I think like, yeah, having like circle updates, like not just for Giveth.io, but like developer updates like for Trace and for just like Giveth at large, like what's happened in Giveth, you know? I think that would be cool. And I would also like to, with Giveth comms, like have more structure around the Twitter. I admire like the Common Stack Twitters. Like they seem to have like meetings and they do all kinds of like reviews and planning. And I'm like, wow. So just kind of like more structure and more rhythm. And I also think like communications around attracting donors to projects, like just like the kind of like outreach, not just to onboard projects, but also just, to onboard more donors. Well, I guess it's two parts, project outreach onboarding and then like donor alluring.
Yeah, those are all really good ones.
Yeah, and I think also like maybe this is governance, but also communications is like improve communications intra-circle, like cross-circle communications.
Yeah, I think we're really lacking a good system to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we already talked about announcing the mission, vision, values, but just thinking of all the work Marco's been doing, like really just announcing like the rebrand in general.
Yep.
Anything else? This is feeling like a really good list.
I would like to get all of our autopilot emails sorted.
And I guess that's like related is I want to have structure around like note taking, like recording of meetings and like how that information is like stored. I mean, it's already like getting a lot better now, and we kind of talked about it with the Notion stuff, but I think this is like another thing worthwhile including. So organization and recording of meetings, like for transparency, like not only in notes and videos as well, and like the storing of that information.
Yep.
I guess there's probably something to do with like community, like the Regenerative Commons Coalition and kind of this like supporting each other stuff that Ashley is more focused on. Did you guys hear me? Yeah, you did. Good.
And can you elaborate on that, like around the Regenerative Commons Coalition, like getting more clear on our involvement in that and how we communicate about it?
Yeah, I think like, I mean, from my understanding with the Regenerative Commons Coalition, it's kind of like, okay, we've like all connected like different teams, and the meeting that I was part of, we were talking about like ways in which we can like support each other. So this is kind of like broader circle. Like it's like then we're talking about intra-circle communication. This is like even further, like where Giveth is a circle and then like Bloom is a circle, and so then it's like our communications with like partners and the ways in which we support them. I don't have anything more specific because Ashley's like doing this stuff, but I just want to kind of include a piece about like community connection, like partnership communications as well in the overall brainstorming.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Griff, I saw you just joined. Welcome. Just to let you know, we're going through a process that's ultimately going to get us to understanding what our goals are for Q3 and then the milestones to achieve those goals. And we went through and reviewed like what information we were able to find from Giveth Trace and Giveth.io as to what their goals are and what they're working on that can help inform what we do for communication. So right now we're on step 1 of the process of brainstorming our opinions and all the different things that we'd like to do as a communication circle and kind of like brain dumping it in one place. So if you have any ideas that you'd like to add, you can, I'll ping a link to the Notion that we're reviewing again in the chat. So you can follow along, and if there's anything else that you'd like to add to, feel free.
Cool. No, I mean, I mostly came here to be like, hey, let's push Trace this month. That's it. That's all.
Cool. Okay. Are there any other ideas? We've got launching some of our different platforms and programs, the rebrand, announcing the MVV, the docs migration, circle updates, social media strategy, outreach, onboarding for projects and for donors, improving our communication between teams, organizing autopilot emails, organizing where we're storing meeting data, clarifying our involvement in the Regenerative Commons Coalition. Is there anything else? Not that there needs to be, just want to make sure if there is more ideas that they're spoken. Okay.
No,
Cool.
I do have one we're talking with Marco a little bit today about like, I don't know if it's a Q1 necessarily thing, but like really nailing that we actually have a really obvious core audience, which is the people who we give this airdrop to. And so making sure that they have the information they need to participate in the token economy. And then, but maybe Q3, Q4 is like starting to really work on how do we get the nonprofit, like non-technical people educated up so that they can vote in conviction voting and participate in liquidity mining.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts? This is a big list. Okay, so for us to continue to focus on this list, but think about not just the four of us and like the ideas that we have, but what are the opinions or the needs of the hidden voices? You know, the other stakeholders. Who are some of the other stakeholders? We've got these partner organizations that we're working with. We've got the voices of the customers, the donors, the givers, users of the platform, other Giveth contributors on other circles. What did their voices say?
I think definitely as a donor, I'd like to know how I get rewarded for giving. Or I'd like to get rewarded for that.
Yep. Voices of the projects. Okay. Yeah, I see Lauren putting in here voices of the partners. What are their needs? What was that, Lauren? Mm-hmm. So considering all these different voices, you know, the donors want to get rewarded for giving. We went through this in our session on Thursday with Willie. What are all the things that the projects are wanting? They want to be able to easily raise funds, get their cause out there to a greater audience. Givers want to feel like they're making an impact and have like a simple, easy process for doing so. Keeping this in mind, understanding the goals for the Giveth Trace team, and though it's maybe a little bit more a work in progress on the Giveth.io team, but understanding some of the things that they're working on this year, even though they're still prioritizing those things. And then understanding all these different ideas that we've brainstormed and what we'd like to work on and what we would love to attain, which of these goals are feeling the most in alignment and the most attainable for us to focus our energy on collectively over the next couple of months? Knowing that if we spread our energy between all these like 20 different things, none of them are going to happen successfully. But if we pick a couple, like one big one, or we pick like 2 or 3 like big goals that we can achieve, what are those, and what feels like the top priorities, the most fun? What do we have the most resources to work with?
I think the top priorities, well, for me, feel like, I think like comms around Giveth Trace doesn't have to be so complicated. So that's like something that we can easily get done. It would be like great to get out like before Givebacks. I feel like Givebacks is like going to be more exciting and like show stealing, but like also it'd be nice. I don't know. I think it would be nice to have Giveth Trace out there and then announce Givebacks, which is like a layer on top of both things that we've already previously announced. And then I think like all the comms around the airdrop and around like liquidity mining and around gardens and everything to do with the Give token is like a really big priority because it's something we've been all collectively working towards. But then I'd also really like to prioritize just like the simple improving communication in between our teams, because I think like that would help to keep everybody aligned way better. And then we'd be able to kind of like all keep moving towards like kind of these like bigger goals. My first thoughts.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would love to see Trace get out. I think that's like this month, basically. Just really like build out the thing like, oh yeah, we released Giveth.io and now we give the attention to Trace and we start pushing Trace, and then we move to the token and liquidity mining and these things. And then also Garden, I feel like Gardens could be, we can kind of lean on a lot of the work Gardens Sasha is going to do from the Garden Swarm. So we're kind of in the clear on Gardens. Like we don't have to do a lot of our own work around it. We can just kind of roll off of their work. So, but we can't do that for liquidity mining or the airdrop. We really have to nail those. And the givebacks, of course, givebacks being probably the most important.
What do you think, Mitch?
Sorry, I dropped for a little bit there. Looking at number 3. Yeah, give token launch. Giveth Trace live. And if I had to think of a third one, well, I can't think of a third one right now. Sorry. I'll pass it to Ashley.
No worries. And Ashley, I saw you joined in the chat. There's a link to the Notion we're going through. You can see under number 1, under quarterly milestone planning, the process we went through. We brainstormed all of our different ideas of things that we'd like to accomplish as the comms team. Not necessarily only in the next 3 months, but like what are the things that we would love to do. And then now we're talking about like of everything on that list, what do we feel is the most attainable, top priority, what feels fun and like something we have the resources to accomplish. So if you want to take a look at that list and let us know what you think. And I don't know if you're speaking, but you're on mute, Ashley. I can also go. I'm just going to take another look here. So yeah, it sounds like Giveth Trace from a development standpoint will be ready in about a month. Maybe they're going to want to do more testing and stuff, but certainly in the Q3, it makes sense for us to launch Giveth Trace and our messaging around that. Let's see. I think for me, it feels really great that have a lot of energy across all of the different circles, kind of focusing now on road mapping and milestone planning. And we've been having a lot of discussions around our mission and vision and values. So for me, I also prioritize the rebrand and like mission, vision, values, announcement, alignment, and announcement. And let's see. Yeah, I totally agree with Lauren. Improving the cross-circle communications between our teams also feels really important, and like it's going to help us to launch other things more efficiently. And I think, a few of these ideas that we brainstormed kind of go together. So this publishing the docs migration to the website, which is something we've had a lot of energy and focus around, and I'd love to see us close that out. And some of the other points like educate, like Griff brought up, educating the non-technical audiences so that they can participate and really clearly communicating messaging. I feel like those docs are going to help us to accomplish that. So I will add that as well. And it looks like, oh, Ashley struggling with the internet at Danny's. Okay. So if Ashley joins back, we'll take her feedback as well. But I just want to stay here on number 3 for another moment. Does we want to do maybe like another round, or does anyone have anything else that they would like to add or speak to after hearing everyone share? I'm seeing.
We can do another round if you want. I mean, I feel pretty much like we're mostly aligned. I also totally agree with you, Forrest. I mean, it would be great to get our mission, vision, values there as well. I think that kind of like comes also along with like improving communication between circles, because it's like, oh, let's all be looking at the same thing. Let's all be like looking at the same path in the same direction. So I think that's definitely also important. And I would love to close out the docs migration. I mean, we're really almost done. Like there's not that much to do. So I feel like the bigger pieces, like we still have a lot of bandwidth after just like closing out those couple of things to attack the Giveth Trace. Well, that's not that big, but then also the Give token stuff.
Yeah. I'm just kind of highlighting the ones that we have across teams. Hey, Ashley.
I'm sorry, the internet is really crappy here right now.
That's okay. If you, I'm not sure if you heard what I shared earlier, but if you want to pop into this Notion doc and take a look at under the quarterly milestone planning, number 1, the different ideas we've brainstormed of big goals for us to focus on over the next few months. And if you have other ones to add, please let us know and add them here. And then going to number 3, we're on now, where we just each have shared kind of like reviewing that big brainstorm list, like what do we think are the most important, the most attainable, the most exciting things for us to work on and really focus our collective energy over the next few months. And I would love to hear your thoughts.
Looks like she might have dropped again.
Okay, I see her in the Notion doc. So we've got green, give token launch. Okay, so the things that I'm seeing across what everyone has shared, collectively, we're all in alignment on the Giveth Trace launch and the communications messaging there. So that feels really great. Mitch, Griff, and Lauren all posted about the Give token and the technical documentation for the different pieces of the Give token. Lauren and I both advocating for improving communication between teams, and as a part of that, getting clear and aligned on our mission, vision, and values. Okay. Hey, Ashley. I just give you another second if your connection is good and you want to share, and otherwise you can always just paste it in the Notion doc, and we'll keep moving. Okay, so number 4, do we see any big blockers or problems that might be risky for these goals? So I'm just going to reiterate them here. Giveth Trace launch, Give token launch, and technical documentation, comms messaging, comms announcement. And so first, considering the Giveth Trace launch and the comms announcement around that, are there any blockers? Are there any problems that might pose a risk to us accomplishing our goal of launching Giveth Trace within this next quarter and making all of our announcements?
For sure, like if Griff was saying, like if there's any payments that are blocked in, 30 days or something, then we set the clock back to 0, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's the general idea with Trace. It's like the things before we say, hey, everyone go use this, it's got to be safe to use without people getting their money stopped. I think we can, I think you guys have been doing testing. It hasn't been going that well on this last, is this what it sounds like? A lot of bug fixes still?
Yeah, I found a bunch of issues. I didn't do I didn't even do a ton of testing. I was only testing for a couple of hours, but ran into a number of different things on develop.
Yeah, there's a bunch of issues that I made that I see still didn't make it back to user testing. So see how it goes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't expect them to be out in a month, but I would expect that maybe mid-July is probably when we would. That sucks. But we can ramp up to Trace,